If you own a disc brake bike or maybe considering buying one, I've got 5 simple but effective tips to help make your life a breeze. Tip number 1, ensure that you have the correct tools with you in your saddlebag when you head out onto the bike. Now, depending on your setup, your bike may well have some fixtures or bolts which use a different head style to what you're familiar with or will be fitted to other parts of your bike. Typically, your bikes will be fitted with hex bolts. These are used with Allen keys or hex keys, as you can imagine. But you might find there are some disc brake setups which use Torx bolts, and therefore it's important to make sure you have the right tools with you when you're out riding in case you need to make any adjustments. And if you're unsure, you could just head down to your local bike shop or a quick search online and you'll have yourself sorted in no time. Tip 2, change the hydraulic fluid every couple of years. This is something I see lots of people overlooking, myself included, but over time the hydraulic fluid will degrade and lose its resistance to heat. Tiny amounts of air and moisture will work their way into the system. This is going to vary slightly depending on whether your bike uses DOT fluid or mineral oil, because DOT fluid is hygroscopic, which means it absorbs moisture, and that's certainly something you don't want inside those hydraulic lines. Now, cruising around town, you're unlikely to notice any difference in brake performance. However, head to some long, fast alpine descents, and you may well notice if you haven't changed that brake fluid, you'll have an underperforming brake once it starts to heat up. Tip number 3, keep some pad spacers to hand. These are those weird looking things that you probably had no idea what they were for when you picked up your new bike. But when you remove your wheel, these fit in between the brake pads and stop them being squashed together if you accidentally pull your brake lever. And if you're someone that travels around or puts your bike into the back of your car a lot, it's well worth keeping a set in your boot so you don't run into any trouble. And if you can't find these little brake pad spacers, well, don't worry, because you can just get almost exactly the same result by folding up a piece of card, and hey, there you go, job done. Tip number 4, picture this, it's the year 2019 and there are a plethora of bikes and parts available. Life is great. We weren't to know that in the years to come, the supply of bikes and some of the parts would be hard to come by. And in terms of your disc brakes and the consumable parts, so the stuff that wears out, like the pads and the rotors, the best advice is to stick to a reputable brand. I know there are lots of super cheap options out there which can seem quite tempting. However, those super cheap options aren't always going to last as long. They're not necessarily got the same resistance to heat buildup, and sometimes aren't made to the same tolerances as the original manufacturer supplied part. So the best advice, stick to those reputable brands and you should be fine. Best thing is, there's loads of good options out there. Tip number 5, our final tip, and while it might seem obvious to some people, if you're not familiar with disc brakes, it is fundamental and crucial to keep them free of oil and grease. If, however, you do manage to get oil and grease onto the brake pads, it is near impossible to remove it from that friction material. So it's likely you're going to have to replace those brake pads. If you get any lubricant or oil and grease onto your rotors, chances are you can clean it up by using some disc brake cleaner. But the easiest option is just take a little bit of time when you're cleaning and lubricating your bike to keep everything free, and it's well worth having a can of disc brake cleaner in your cleaning supplies. So there you have it, 5 simple tips to help make life with disc brakes easy and simple. If you have any tips of your own, let me know in the comment section down below. And you know what to do with this video. Like it, subscribe to GCN Tech, and share this video far and wide with all of your friends, even the ones that don't have disc brakes. See ya.